Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another Pop Culture Therapy. I'm Cruellica Kain.
I'm Advent Nebula.
And we are here to kind of do a regular show as well as a secondary topic afterwards. But for the regular show, I thought we'd just kind of catch up on what's been happening since the last time we just had like a recap of stuff going on.
Yeah, and there's been new anime seasons started. Netflix and Amazon Prime have started up their newer shows that have come up on and start streaming now, as well as their original movies have been coming out. And even today, Netflix ended up popping up Inglourious Bastards onto their streaming platform in anticipation for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood coming out later this week.
Netflix has been doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah, they even split Hateful Eight into 4 mini episodes, and it's the extended cut that originally just aired in theaters as a 70mm, which is pretty interesting.
I have to admit, what I've been rewatching on Netflix is actually Portlandia.
Always a classic.
Oh, I love that show. I don't know if it's still airing on IFC or not.
I don't know either. I think it may have ended its run, but I'm not sure.
If you don't know what Portlandia is, basically it's a show that was that's being produced by Lorne Michaels of Saturday Night Live. Actually stars Fred Armisen, who is from a really good era of Saturday Night Live.
You have David Cross on there in some of the skits, which are hilarious.
And he does a lot of the writing. Along with the other main star is Carrie Brownstein, who I'm not too familiar with outside of this, but it's a hilarious show if you ever get a chance to check it out.
And then comedian John Mulaney's appeared in a few episodes. This is one random character every time.
Well, so does Jeff Goldblum, Andy Samberg, Kristen Wiig, Chloe Sevigny. So it has a lot of how I think of it is it all takes place in Portland, Oregon, and they're all like mini skits. And they're all reoccurring characters in these mini skits, so you get to see them throughout the series. But I enjoy that just because there are some times where you just need mindless entertainment.
And especially with the way the skits set themselves up in every situation, it is so ridiculous, but you're also going, I could see a hipster city portraying that pretty easily.
Oh, absolutely. And, on regular pop culture front, I've been mainly just catching up on rewatching some series that I haven't gotten to finish yet, like the Helpful Fox Senkoku, or Senko-san. I started watching the new series Fire Force,
which I have yet to start, and then with the Kyoto Anime Studio tragedy, they're delaying episodes for a couple weeks on that.
Yeah, while it's unfortunate, and I think with our culture of wanting things now, you have to be respectful of the situation. A lot of people lost their lives. An organization will never be able to recover fully from this tragic event.
The president's even planning on having the studio demolished and a park put in its place. And they lost most of their animation archives of hand-drawn and servers that were there, so the studio is never going to be the same.
That was a very sad event that did happen in pop culture. I know pop culture is not the umbrella for it, but it is sad when you see something like that happen. Not just for the anime community, not just for anything, but just human life in general.
For human life, 35 people have now lost their lives.
And then you've ruined, not you, but that man who did this ruined so many lives, destroyed so much. And Japan's not a culture that handles this type of situation as we do.
This is the largest tragedy of mass murder that's happened in Japan since the sarin gas attacks back in the 90s. And it's the largest death count of any sort of tragedy Japan's had since America dropped the bombs on Japan. So that tells you that they don't have these kind of incidents happen very often, where in this country something like that happens, it's kind of like another day. So it really gives you perspective on just what this is for a tragedy in that country.
Well, and it also makes you think of us as Americans really do look at it as another day in the neighborhood. And it's a very sad and disgusting way of having to think of it, because I was in New York when 9/11 happened. I know many people who were in New Orleans when Katrina happened, and so on and so forth. And
I had family at Columbine High School the day that shooting happened.
And you don't want to be a part of something like that. And for us, we're immune to it now because it happened so much. And anyone watching or listening or watching any of our following videos, please do look at trying to give support to the community on it. If I find any of the fundraisers, I will certainly post them.
Sentai Filmworks does have their own GoFundMe set up for it. And if you are somebody that's living in Japan, there has been an actual bank account set up just for donations for the families that are victims of this tragedy.
Yeah, because they don't have... I don't know if they have the same coverage that we do in the States when somebody's going through a tragedy like this. But on a more positive note, with the new anime season, with the movie seasons the summer movie blockbusters wrapping up now.
Yeah, we have just up till it's the final blockbuster of the summer left.
Yeah, because after Endgame, which I know we talked about that, we had Far From Home for Spider-Man, which was a fantastically well done movie. I really enjoyed the narrative, the story, the fact that it incorporated so much of Endgame into its narrative. Because it really didn't have to, since it's Sony, and even though he's part of the MCU, I know Sony is very protective of trying to keep them separated.
But at the same time, it tied everything in from Phase 1 to Phase 3 of the MCU into this movie to kind of be the end of Phase 3. And not just that, but the end of the entire Infinity Saga itself.
It was. It was the end of Phase 3, but it was also, to me, the start of Phase 4. Because it hinted at so many things that could come in the future. So depending on your, I guess, continued love for comic book movies and franchises, you can easily just stop here and have a great finale.
And you can just wait and kind of see what they do with Spider-Man 3 if you don't want to see what else is going on. And then Phase 4 at Comic-Con was announced this previous weekend. It's just going to be a 2-year span, but it's going to be 5 movies and 4 TV shows all combined together. The What If TV series is just going to be an animated series of what if scenarios if something different had happened in the Infinity Saga.
Which I love the fact that we're coming up to Phase 4. I am starting to get a little tired of Marvel movies. Not just Marvel movies, but comic book movies, because the market is so saturated. But at the same time, I know I will, A, continue seeing them, and B...
One of us is going to be having a Disney Plus subscription, probably me.
Yeah, because I'm running out of room for my subscriptions. But, so, Phase 4 is going to begin and kick off with Black Widow.
Which they did confirm during the Comic-Con presentation that Taskmaster is going to be the villain, and it's going to take place 6 months after Captain America Civil War. So it is kind of a prequel sequel in a way.
And I do agree with some people's comments of the fact that spoiler alert if you have not watched Endgame, so I should preface that first. But I feel it's kind of a little too late to get it after her demise.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit of a slap in the face, but at the same time, we don't know essentially what they'll do.
And Taskmaster's probably not going to be a villain that's going to die. I have a feeling he's going to be a villain set up for future usage.
So also in 2020, we're going to have Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which it looks like it's going to be taking place just from the way Anthony Mackie walked out on stage with the Captain America shield. I'm thinking it's going to take place after Endgame.
It was confirmed to take place starting around the same time Far From Home is going on.
Which makes sense.
Daniel Buell will be returning as Helmut Zemo, and he's actually going to be wearing the costume Zemo wears in the comics, which is going to be really interesting to see how that works out.
And the other movie that we're getting in 2020 that I really don't know much about myself, so I have to kind of step back and just enjoy it when it comes out, is The Eternals.
Yeah. For some people that don't know the Eternals, which is going to be a lot of people, the Eternals are basically the gods that created the Marvel Universe, and this movie is going to be taking place in a very far back past. What the Celestials and the Eternals kind of fight each other in a battle, and I don't know how they're going to do this and what it's going to be like. This is going to be like the wild card for what Marvel's planning.
A couple of things I have to note from watching the Marvel Comic-Con panel on this is, one, we have our first deaf actress in a comic book movie. She's not our first deaf actress because that does go to the young lady from The Quiet Place. Yep. However, she is playing in a movie that, with Quiet Place, it was weaved into the narrative of having someone deaf. It could work. With this, I have to admit, one, I don't know the character that she's playing all that well.
The character that she's playing, though, is deaf in the comics as well.
Which I kind of figured, because it would make no sense otherwise. Not that deaf people couldn't play different characters, but based on how it had to be portrayed, it's going to be fascinating to see how it's weaved into the narrative with this. We also have a girl who's probably from, it looked like about 12 or 13, but she's playing the oldest person in the Eternals. Kind of remind me of Third Rock from the Sun.
Oh, yeah.
Where,
Jason Gordon-Levitt was the old man.
Yes. And then we have, which I think everybody was like super shocked and super stoked about, not that it really bothered me, was the fact that Angelina Jolie is now officially entering the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which they really kept under their hat really well.
There had been rumors for months that she was going to be playing this character.
But they do a lot of false rumors for Marvel. Marvel's really good about putting in enough false rumors that when you hear a rumor, you don't take it as legitimate until it's been said.
Yeah.
Which, it's kind of interesting to have her in it, because if you've watched a lot of Angelina Jolie movies, she's done a lot of action movies. So her being in this movie, I know she can do it.
And what's going to be really interesting, the character she's playing is actually the second in command of the Eternals as well.
Yes.
Which, anybody who's watched the CBS reboot of The Twilight Zone, the actor that is playing the leader is the one who played the lead character in the skit The Comedian.
Well, no, it's Salma Hayek who's playing the leader.
I thought it was the other one.
No, it's Salma Hayek. Yeah, because Salma Hayek...
That's the one they gender swapped. That's right, they gender swapped that character.
So, also, not to go into too much detail about all of them, the next one we have is Shang-Chi and The Legend of the Ten Rings in February of 2021.
Which we'll finally get to see the real Mandarin in the MCU, finally.
Which I'm happy that they're kind of fixing that. Not that, I didn't know enough about the Mandarin to have it affect me, but it's nice that they're fixing it for the fans of the Mandarin. And apparently, I don't know the actor who's playing the Mandarin, but we're also going to have Awkwafina, who is in Crazy Rich Asians. Yep. She's a hilarious woman.
The lead actor that's playing Shang-Chi actually put on his Twitter, "Hey, Marvel, cast me as Shang-Chi." And this is before Tarantino had cast him Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh, yes, Bruce Lee.
As Bruce Lee. So when Selma Young got cast in this, I'm like, they actually took the Toronto-born actor and actually casted him in the Shang-Chi movie as Shang-Chi after he proposed himself in the role. Which, kind of funny enough, same thing happened with Blade.
Yes, because that's going to be one of the later ones. It's not on the list of Phase 4, but it's part of Phase 4.
Nope, it's going to be the start of Phase 5, Kevin Feige said today.
Oh, okay. So the next two things in Phase 4, I'm going to start off with the fact that it seems like it's going to be an Elizabeth Olsen year.
Because these two are actually going to tie into each other as well.
Yes, and there have been mixed rumors of how they're tying into each other, so I'm going to leave it very loose. Elizabeth Olsen is obviously going to be in WandaVision with her, Paul Bettany, and a few other actors to kind of make up that cast. And then she's also going to be starring alongside Benedict Cumberbatch in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Which is going to be very interesting because they did confirm that the villain is going to be Shumagora, the Cthulhu of the Marvel Universe.
So it's going to be interesting to finally get a full... Because we've gotten time travel. Now we get multi-universes really tying in. Which we got a hint of that when Strange was analyzing all the different universes to see which one they wanted.
And then you also got an in-game when the Ancient One was talking about you take one piece from one reality, it'll split into others. Which... You're also going to get later that year the Loki TV series expanding on that.
I was going to say that's the next one is Loki, because now while he's dead in one universe, he's not dead in another. So it's going to be interesting to see with the characters who are dead, which is Black Widow, Vision, and Loki, if they're going to be bringing them into the main universe or if they're going to keep them in separate universes. Because this is comic books. We all know they can screw around.
The only actor that's confirmed he's done with the MCU is Robert Downey Jr. All the others said they are willing to come back in other roles.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back in a voice role for the What If series.
Yeah, that will be since that's going to be animated, that could very easily be it.
Because they did talk about the What If series, that I guess it's just very similar to the comic books, where it's what ifs, kind of like the one Superman one, where he is Red Sun. Then we have the Hawkeye series, which is going to be Jeremy Renner doing both Hawkeye and Ronin.
And his daughter, Kate Bishop, played by the same actress that you've seen in Endgame, he's going to be training her to take over its new Hawkeye.
So what's going to be the most popular thing of Phase 4, I'm thinking, just because it's a dual thing of you're going to have another female hero, but you're also going to have kind of an expansion of this universe based on the comics, is Thor Love and Thunder.
Which anybody who's familiar with the comic knows this is the comic where Jane Foster took up the hammer of Thor and became Thor herself, where Thor took over as Allfather when he was trying to discover his self-worth after he left Asgard as his leader to kind of explore and find himself.
And with Odin being gone...
And Tessa Thompson's Valkyrie now kind of in charge.
We have so many opportunities because right now Thor is also... Technically, he left Endgame with the Guardians, so it's making me wonder for Love and Thunder if the Guardians are also going to appear in the story.
It makes you wonder too. And then James Gunn came out today and confirmed that Guardians 3 will take place in Phase 5, and I have a feeling that's probably going to be the second movie of Phase 5 after the Blade movie.
Yeah, and the Blade movie, they really wanted to hype this up because in Phase 5 right now, they have unofficially confirmed, along with Blade, the Guardians of the Galaxy, as well as a new Fantastic Four movie.
And then also confirmed Black Panther 2 and Captain Marvel 2 will be in Phase 5 as well.
So Phase 4, it looks like Phase 4 is not going to have that large world event.
This is kind of like the first phase of the Marvel movies without the Avengers lead up.
Exactly. I'm thinking they're doing this, which I know a lot of people have a few complaints in regards to the fact that it's almost like we're replacing a lot of the OG Avengers. And in a way, I think they are. But Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, they've been consistent mainstays. Mark Ruffalo has been a mainstay, even if he didn't star in his own movie. And we don't know how all the movies are going to work. We only know the main cast. We don't know if there's side cast stories. We don't know if there's going to be additional things within it. So it's just going to be interesting to see what happens.
And all the TV shows, except for What If, are going to tie into the movies in some way, so I can understand some people's complaints on that. If they want the full story, they have to watch the TV series, but...
I'm hoping, though, with that said, because right now, Warner Brothers is having a terrible time with their network. This is why they're combining everything together with HBO, because they're Warner, I think, is it...
DC Universe Online.
DC Universe Online, which they're having the shows. They've had to cancel Swamp Thing. They've had to cancel Doom Patrol.
Nope, Doom Patrol got renewed for season 2. It'll be going on to HBO Max. Young Justice got a season 4 confirmed, and season 4 will be the last season of Young Justice.
Because I know Doom Patrol was originally canceled.
Nope, they decided to bring that back.
Which is good. Hopefully they think to do that with Swamp Thing,
but I have a feeling they're not going to, because there's some legal problems that set up with that one with filming in North Carolina.
Most likely. The challenge is when you put shows on a network that is locked, and I'm going to include Netflix actually in this as well, is when you put television shows on a network that's locked, people are not going to tune in to see if they already have subscriptions to another network. Netflix is one of those things that it's almost like a cultural mainstay. Everybody has Netflix to a degree. Same thing with Hulu. That's why Amazon Prime doesn't do as well sometimes.
Well, Amazon Prime's actually picking up on stuff, because if you have a Prime subscription, you're automatically locked into having the streaming network anymore now.
But I think with Disney, the one benefit they have is not only do they have their own core programming that they can add to it, they now have everything of Fox's.
And that, not only that, they have the largest library of stuff they've had locked away that will now be available for streaming for everybody.
So I think streaming for that is going to be worth it comparatively with regards to their competition. Because I can honestly say I will not tune into Hulu no matter how good they are, because the cost is just not worth it to me.
Yeah, and you have to pay $14.99 a month on Hulu to get the commercial-free package
and
now.
HBO Max, I don't know enough about it, because that's a hard one to commit to.
Especially at this price, it's looking like it's going to be $16.99 a month for HBO Max. Even with the fact you're going to get access to all the other streaming networks that are under Warner Brothers umbrella, like Crunchyroll, Rooster Teeth, and all those online ones are going to be combined into this, I still don't see it worth it.
No, it's kind of the same thing when it comes to Netflix. Once Netflix loses all of Disney, all of Warner Brothers, are they even going to be worth it just for themselves? And I think that's something that is really hurting the pop culture narrative, because you have to pick your poison now.
Yes, streaming is becoming like what we were complaining about with cable back in the early 2000s.
It's also what we're complaining about when it comes to video games. Are you a PlayStation or an Xbox? Or are you a PC gamer? Or are you now a mobile gamer? This is reminding me of the war with cable versus satellites and video game options. Because you have to practically be a fanboy to say you're going to commit to something. Because cable cost on its own is just not worth it.
Yeah, you just gotta pick your poison, especially with the cost of the internet nowadays, on where you're gonna go.
Oh, absolutely. There's no cheap version for anything. I think that's why a lot of people share their accounts, which I have to say is cost efficient in a way to share the accounts.
Yeah. I mean, we're both guilty of it.
Oh, yeah. No, most people are. I think that's why places are allowing it, because they know people are going to do it, and that's the only way to confirm that you're going to have subscriptions and subscribership. But with that said, I don't think outside of the next movie that we're seeing, I have much more to talk about for a regular show.
Yeah, we're Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and It are our next two real big movies, unless something grabs us in August or we want to go see something that's been out for a little bit before it exits theaters.
That's kind of what I'm thinking as well. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, obviously it's Quentin Tarantino, so I have no shame in saying anything he makes, I will always pick up a ticket for.
Especially now that he says that 10 films may not be the end. He's got so many ideas now floating, he may go longer.
Oh, I kind of figured he would. But we even went to see Hateful Eight on Christmas Day because we just are that big of fans of his. And then I will say one thing. If you've read the book, be careful because the trailer does confuse you a little bit because there's a character that consistently shows up in the trailer that's not supposed to be there.
And I'm wondering, when they said they made a major change to the narrative of the second half of the book, I'm wondering if this is what the major change was.
Which, if it is, I'm not going to be happy because that's what helped motivate them.
Yeah, the only other thing, and this is not a spoiler for people who have read the book or anybody reading the movie, but they confirmed they took the turtle storyline completely out.
Which they did in the 90s version as well. So I don't think we'll ever get a fully faithful adaptation of it that will have the extreme supernatural elements. That's why I'm a little back and forth about The Stand, because there's some things there that are not tied to traditional supernatural horror either. And
I'm a little disappointed with CBS All Access now confirmed to have The Stand. It'll be a direct adaptation of the book, unlike CBS's 1996 miniseries, I think it was.
I've watched it. I enjoyed it.
I can't remember what year that was.
It was the 90s, but it was good. Yeah. Don't get me wrong.
But this one will be a true adaptation of it. 5-part miniseries with one, and they did confirm this during Comic-Con, which I'm a little iffy on. Marilyn Manson's acting, especially because the series is going to be playing Randall Flagg.
Hey, I've seen worse.
Yeah.
But with that said, let's get into our side topic. We won't take too long because I know you don't want to be here all night, even though you like us. You really like us. Our side topic that we wanted to kind of go on is just because with Advent Nebula not getting too personal, we've been going through some health scares.
Both of us have been.
Oh yeah. So everything's okay. Nothing is bad or anything like that, but we wanted to do a quick thing on using pop culture to help with healing. I know people have always heard the philosophy, a smile a day keeps you living longer, that an apple a day keeps the doctor away, which is really not as true as they say. But pop culture is a great way to heal as well as to cope when you're going through depression, anxiety, health scares. Because the last thing you want to do is really think about what's wrong.
You just want to shut your brain off, especially somebody like me that has minor anxiety. They just know they need to do something to shut their brain completely off of what's constantly ringing in their head and going over and over and over and over again.
And for me, who has severe depression, actually manic depression, kind of teetering on bipolar, as well as generalized anxiety disorder, I can honestly say if I don't have something to help with healing or coping on the pop culture spectrum, I will get tunnel vision and hyper focus on what's wrong. And so, not to be preachy or anything like this, because you could have a damn cold for all you know. It's just something that helps you feel better at the end of the day. I know a few things that I use. I use horror movies. I know that's probably not the healthiest thing to ever say, that you want to watch people running around and get murdered and it helps you feel relaxed. But I'll watch horror movies because they're completely mindless. Or I'll watch comedy anime or comedy action anime. Same thing with television shows. Or I'll play video games and just get so focused in the narrative.
I have to do video games, or I have to read a book where I can just get hyper-focused and just take my mind off of anything.
Sometimes books, while I love to read, and I am such an avid reader, I can read 24 hours a day, and I have at times. Books don't always necessarily take me out of my problem, depending on the type of book I'm reading. Like, if I'm reading a manga, sometimes it can. But if I'm reading, like, a straight novel, it's a little bit of a challenge for me.
Yeah, I could see with what you go through as opposed to me when it comes to this. But also what you and I like to read outside of the urban fantasy, our overlap. That's our only overlap.
That really is our only overlap.
We both read so different.
I read smutty romance novels for fun.
I read hard sci-fi for fun.
Oh, no.
We're talking about the ones that actually have scientific theory that can be backed up by actual science in the novels.
Well, I actually should preface, I read good smutty romance. I do not read 50 Shades of Grey. But nevertheless, having something in the realm of pop culture, because one thing that Kaiji no Kami does is he'll blast music. If he's going through a lot, he'll either play video games or he will blast music, and it's usually very operatic music.
Or he ends up on a Grand Theft Auto spree.
Oh yeah, Grand Theft Auto is his perfect coping mechanism. I don't know what it is about it, but it is. But you want to have that outlet for healing, and you want to have it just for your own mental health. Now, it works for physical health, because physical health is all related to mental health. I know I'm told that every single day by doctors, by kaiju, by my family, by my friends. And I don't mean to say it like I don't listen, but usually depending on your disorder, you may not always have it connect. So you need something. Like what Advent does, which drives me nuts sometimes, but I know he does it when he's going through a really hard period, is he plays Fate Grand Order.
Hey, it's a coping mechanism.
But coping is, and for anyone who thinks that coping means that you're denying what's going on or you're ignoring a problem, it really isn't.
No, sometimes it's like what I'm going through right now. It's your frustration with your insurance company.
Or just your frustration with life in general. Because with insurance companies, as a few of our friends are dealing with, not just yourself, it's such a lovely, lovely joy to have to play that game. And you're going through pain, either physical or mental, and you need something that helps you take away from it. So my public service announcement on the therapy chair this week, or this for the next couple of weeks, is put in the comment section, or think about for yourself, if you don't want to share it, what you use to cope. I can honestly say, if I'm having like a really craptastic day, I will put in The Conjuring or Nightmare on Elm Street. I don't know what it is about those movies, but putting them on, I can just at least forget about it for a few hours.
And for me, it's go with some anime that I know I can just shut my brain off, because it's like, yeah, I'm so dwelled into this, I can watch it and enjoy it. Or it's similar to kaiju. I'll just blast music. Usually Tool will end up being the music I'll end up just listening to. Keep my mind off stuff.
The only thing I recommend, unless this helps you in any way, is stay away from things that give you a visceral emotion.
I will actually agree with that.
I know some people think, oh, well, rom-coms would be great, or a drama. Anything that's going to give you a visceral emotion that's going to connect back to what you're going through is not necessarily the most ideal situation. Yes, crying is actually healthy. Don't let anyone ever tell you otherwise. Having a good cry every now and then is a good thing. I do it at least a couple of times a week, because otherwise it just bottles up. Another thing outside of pop culture that can be helpful with healing is talk to people.
Yeah,
Don't
please.
be alone.
Don't hold your emotions and talk to people. You'll be surprised on what it can do for you when you're actually able to vent to somebody what's going on.
Especially when you tell your friends or family things that they really do not want to know about your health, but you just share it because you have no other choice.
And especially when you know these are the only people you can actually trust.
Well, absolutely. Because if you don't have family, or if you don't have anyone local, just find a friend that's comfortable with you telling anything you want to. And if you ever need to message us just to vent, please, that's what we're here for. This is the reason for pop culture therapy.
Yes. And I think that's actually a good place to end this week's episode.
Mm-hmm.
And then next topic's going to kind of go on a general, kind of like with this one, because we got some stuff coming up. We're going to be going to our local Dragon Boat Festival. By then we will have seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And kind of get a better grasp of what's going on with the seasonal stuff, because for me, Amazon Prime's premiering The Boys, which was a comic I really enjoyed, and I'll be more than likely have binged through that by the time the next episode comes up.
Yeah, I need to finish watching 13 Reasons, which is probably not something to watch if you're going through a depressing moment.
Yeah.
But other than that, thank you very much again for tuning in. We always appreciate you, and we look forward to chatting with you again soon.
See you later.
Bye.